Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Harmonious World. My name is Hilary Seabrook, and if this is your first time listening in, welcome. This podcast is inspired by a quote that I once heard from Quincy Jones, which went something along the lines of, "Imagine what a harmonious world it would be if everyone shared a little of what they're good at." Since June 2020, I have been interviewing musicians and those with an interest in music to get them to share what they are good at. My past guests have included seasoned professionals, Grammy winners, Grammy nominees, other award winners, and those starting out on their journey. I was delighted last night to bump into the guest on this episode, Becca Wilkins, vocalist, and we were both at a gig at the Barbican in London. So that was coincidental to be able to chat with her and then come back this morning and edit this conversation that we had live in Finsbury Park a few weeks ago. Becca is an extraordinary vocalist, and her latest album, Reverie, brings modern interpretation of some French chansons, those songs that many of us know, and she's just done it in her own inimitable way. We had a lovely chat in Finsbury Park, and it was good to see her again yesterday. What you're listening to now is Becca's version of Nuage, composed by Django Reinhardt, with some beautiful bass by Sam Ingvorsen. I hope you enjoy listening to this and also to my live conversation in Finsbury Park with vocalist Becca Wilkins. Welcome, Becca Wilkins, to Harmonious World, and we're in the beautiful Finsbury Park surrounded by children playing, and it's lovely.
It's lovely, thanks so much for having me.
So we are talking about Reverie,
Yes.
which is out on the 30th of May, so a couple of weeks. By the time this comes out, it will have just
be out in the
Just
world.
be out in the
yeah.
world.
Yeah, looking forward.
Yes, it's very exciting. So I'm going to ask you a bit about your background, but I want to start by talking about the album itself. So when did you decide that this was a project you wanted to do, and explain to my listeners what the project is?
Of course, yeah. So the project is all sort of rearranged, reimagined French chansons, so songs from sort of Edith Piaf and Jacques Brel, from sort of the 50s and 60s French radio, reimagined with a contemporary jazz quartet, so myself and my trio. I first started sort of really listening to the music, it was probably a couple of years ago now, as musicians, we do a lot of driving to far-flung corners of the country, especially at late night, driving back from those corners of no man's land. And so there was one night I was driving back, and I happened to be listening to some late night radio, and it happened to be a show all about sort of French music from all ages, all genres. And they played this one tune called Sa Jeunesse. And I was so captivated by it instantly, and it was just a really special song. The words were so beautiful. So I lived in France for a year, so I understood all the lyrics, and it really captured me. And I spent about 2 weeks making everyone I knew listen to it as well, and saying, "Isn't this the best thing ever?" And so from that point on, I sort of researched a bit more, and I really wanted to delve into this genre and really explore all the poetry that's there. Because if you're French, if you live in France, you know all these songs so well, but it's not something that a lot of people are aware of over here. But it's interesting, the more you play it, the more people say, "Oh, I do know that one. Oh, I have heard that one before." And so it's been a really lovely journey of discovery into this music, and then sort of making it my own and exploring that and finding a new sound with it.
Yeah, and it does feel like you are interpreting the songs rather than just simply. I mean, they're performed in a very different way, aren't they?
Very different.
With the jazz trio behind you. What did they think when you kind of went, right, this is going to be the new project? What did they say?
Yeah, well, I remember the first rehearsal we had, and originally I was exploring different sounds, and I didn't know if I wanted drums to start with, so I tried it with just Ollie and Sam, my bassist and keys player, and I brought along this one tune which is on the album. It's called Barbara, and I think we got to the end of it and they just said, "Wow, this is quite epic, isn't it? It's like a rhapsody. It just keeps going. There's so much, and there's so much richness in there." And I think it's very easy to assume that it's just sort of minor melodies in 3/4.
Yes,
that's kind of the typical sound, but there's a lot more in there, and there's a lot you can do with that as well, which has been really lovely to discover.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think so. I'm starting this with Nuage, the Django Reinhardt, because that's a beautiful piece, and I think a lot of people will be familiar with the melody.
Yes.
Do you think that there's an issue with? Or do you think that not understanding the words for some people would be a benefit, because you almost get enveloped in the melody rather than worrying about what the lyrics are?
Yeah, I think actually it makes so much sense to do it from a jazz perspective, because we spend a lot of our time singing without words. Like, I do a lot of improvising with scat, and also with sort of written out melodies, like if I'm in a larger ensemble. So it makes so much sense to bring that to a jazz audience, because we're so used to hearing stories without words. And I think different languages actually sometimes make us listen more deeply to find that meaning. And I remember when I first started gigging this material, I was very self-conscious that people might not speak French, and it was all in French, and so I'd hand out translations, and increasingly people weren't actually using them, and they were just really focused and really listening to everything we were playing and every word I was singing, and it just made the performances really special. And I think that's testament to just how great the songwriting is in these pieces.
Yes. I heard, and I can't remember the name of the singer who was with Claire Cope. Do you know Claire Cope's new
I do.
project?
I'm trying to remember. I don't have it on the top of my tongue.
No, but she sings, and she doesn't use words at all. It's using the voice as an instrument.
Of course.
And I love that. And it's probably the first time that I've really listened to someone using the voice as an instrument rather than, as conveying lyrics. Whatever.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really interesting. So that then allows you to then be a musician rather than just conveying these lyrics.
Yeah, and it's something that I've really loved singing as well, sort of all these wordless melodies. Like I do a lot of collaboration with Olivia Murphy, and we do lots of stuff that sometimes there's lyrics, and she's amazing at writing words, but there's a lot of just textural vocals that's part of the ensemble, and it's such a special sound.
Yes, yeah. And you were talking about your band, and of course you've got Ollie Chalk on piano and synth, Sam Ingvorsen, is that right, on bass, and then a friend of the podcast, Billy Podge, who I've interviewed. He's a lovely drummer, isn't he?
He's brilliant. He's really sensitive. It was so perfect for this project. Because there's a lot of textural changes, it just blends so beautifully. And each of these players are such wonderful musicians. It's been a real joy. There's duo moments with each musician throughout the album, and I just really love exploring that texture and all the possibilities within that setting. Yeah. So I think it's Amsterdam that's on the album with Billy, where we play duo, and it's really special.
Yeah, that's really nice. So at this point, I want to play a little bit of La Bohème.
vous parle d'un temps que les moins de 20 ans ne peuvent pas connaître. Montmartre en ce temps-là accrochait ses lilas jusque son fenêtre, et si l'humble garni qui nous servait de nid ne payait pas de mine. C'est là qu'on s'est connus, moi qui criais famine et toi qui posais nu. La bohème, ça voulait dire on est heureux. La bohème, nous ne mangions qu'un jour sur deux. Dans les cafés voisins, nous étions quelques-uns qui attendions la gloire. Et bien que misérable, avec le ventre creux, nous ne cessions d'y croire. Et qu'en quelques bistrots, contre un bon repas chaud, nous prenions une toile. Nous récitions des vers groupés autour du poêle, en oubliant l'hiver. Ça voulait dire tu es jolie. La bohème, et nous avions tous du génie. Souvent
The Charles Aznavour
Yes.
one, and I didn't even realise that he was such an important sort of composer as well as being an amazing singer.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, his voice is incredible, isn't it? But he was a prolific songwriter and even lyricist. A lot of people use his lyrics even if he didn't write the whole song. A lot of people compare him and say he's sort of the French Bob Dylan, which is a great accolade, but in some sense I think he's more than that. You know, he's very much his own artist, and his output was just incredible. And yeah, he passed away sadly a few years ago, but yeah, what a life, what an artist.
Yes, absolutely. So tell me about Nuage and how you went about adapting that specifically.
So Nuage is one of the duo moments on the album, and so I just loved this chromaticism in the melody, and I love how that pulls against the harmony. And so it was just very simple. I just said to Sam, who was on bass, you know, let's just try, let's just see what happens if we play this duo. And there's a real longing that comes about when we do that. And the lyrics talk about sort of the train leaving the station and sort of its trails of smoke behind it. And it took me a while to sort of interpret those lyrics, but actually that sense of longing makes so much sense when you read it through that lens. And so, yeah, it became a really special moment, and it's so bare. We don't really do much with it at all, but it's just really enjoying the melody and just really feeling the story that it tells.
Yes, and I particularly like, your voice with the bass like that. It works really well. I've heard that combination more and more recently. So. I like the Dee Dee Bridgewater and Christian McBride thing.
Brilliant. Yeah.
I spoke to Nicola Zuraitis.
I don't think I know her.
She's a great singer, and she's got a track. I can't remember the name of the track now, but where it's her and Justin her and bass with Christian McBride again. And yeah, well, I mean, obviously he can do no wrong anyway. And it's just so lovely that. And I don't know why it works, but it does. It works really, really well. It's something about the bass being so down, so bass.
Deep, yeah.
Deep, yeah. So yeah. So tell my audience a little bit about your background. How did you end up where you are now and releasing this album?
Yeah, well, so I guess the musical journey started, well, it's always been there, but I studied my undergrad at the University of Birmingham, which was a really special time, a really brilliant course. I loved it. And well, I actually started studying music and French. And within the first year, I realised that the music course was just so special. I wanted to spend all my time there. So yeah, I ended up being full-time music, and it was there where I really sort of got to grips with jazz. I mean, I started singing with the big band, which is something that I've always loved doing, and it was just such a brilliant group of musicians. And from there, I realised that you could learn jazz singing. It was an actual real thing that existed, which I'd never even contemplated before. So then I had some lessons with the amazing Sarah Coleman, which sort of started me on that track. And yeah, Sarah's just such a brilliant, warm musician, amazing human being. It was really special to have lessons with her. And so from there, I went on to Guildhall. So I did a master's at Guildhall. I started it in 2018, and then for several reasons I put pause on it, and I actually finished it off a few years ago when I was starting to explore this music. And again, met so many brilliant musicians there that incredible colleagues. So now here I am. I've never actually released any music under my own name until now. After I finished my undergrad, I released a duo album in collaboration with a lovely, brilliant pianist, Tom Harris, who's now based in Leeds. So that was called Wilkins Harris. It was a very short run, a very small little dinky album that was really sweet, but yeah, it was a really lovely project. So it's taken me some time to work out what direction I wanted to go in next and what I wanted to put out. So yeah, it's really lovely. I mean, we were talking about Tara Minton just before we started recording, who's a very dear friend of mine, and I remember saying to her, "Oh, this seems like quite a niche project I've come up with that I'm putting out there," and she said, "Well, that's your niche. It makes total sense, and it's really lovely to have friends close by that see that, and you know."
And I think there's the benefit of a niche is that you don't have a lot of competition in the same way, and people are going to remember it rather than, you know, another sort of great American songbook reimagined, you know, which and they can be lovely,
as wonderful as they are.
Yes, but they can also melt into one, and you can forget who's the, you know. Yeah. So that's really interesting. So what are you doing about getting this out into the world? So Reverie, how are people going to hear it?
How are people going to hear it? So it's going to be on all the streaming platforms. Not that generates a huge amount of money, but hopefully people will find it and listen to it and enjoy it. Unfortunately, by the time this goes out, we'll have finished our tour. Oh, not quite, actually. I've just remembered off the top of my head. So we'll have done the launch at Pizza Express on the 26th of May. We're playing at the Les Car in Sheffield in June. I believe it's the 25th, if that's the Wednesday, off the top of my head. And we'll also be playing again in London in September at the Crazy Cocks.
Oh, brilliant. Oh, that's a lovely little venue, isn't it?
It's lovely, and it's so fitting. It's so French.
Yes, very, yes. Oh, well, that's good. And I will make sure that in the show notes there are links anyway to your website so that people can see what you're doing. And what is next? So what is the next big project?
Oh, the next big project. Who knows? I mean, it's lovely performing this music because then, you get ideas and you feel so creative. Yeah. I don't think there would be a Reverie Part 2. I think this music's really special. But I'd love to do something completely different. Maybe something more with the duos or some collaborating with some other artists. There's so many incredible musicians on the London scene. I just love to work with them all.
Absolutely. I mean, there really are. There really are. I sort of keep joking to the PR guys. It's like, could you just make everybody stop producing great music? Because there's just so much. And actually, That's really nice, and I love. I mean, we were talking about the fact that I've interviewed Billy Pod from where he had his album out a couple of years ago, and the fact that people will, have a project of their own and they'll use other people, and then one of those people will have something and they'll use
it's a chain reaction.
Yeah, and I love that. It seems so collaborative and so generous of spirit. So, very good.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's a real community.
Yes, it really is. Excellent. Well, thank you for joining me for Harmonious World.
It's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah,
thank you so much.
Danser le long des golfes clairs à des reflets d'argent la mer, les reflets
I hope you enjoyed listening to that conversation with Becca Wilkins in Finsbury Park. I actually like the ambient background noise. I hope it wasn't too distracting. What you're listening to now is Becca's version of La Mer, the fabulous Charles Trenet song, as she has interpreted it on her new album Reverie. It was really good to bump into Becca and indeed to Billy Pod as well yesterday at the Barbican. And I hope you have enjoyed listening to this conversation that we had a couple of weeks ago. Do remember that you can find reviews of albums and live gigs. The links are in the show notes. There is currently, it's on a blog, but there will be coming soon a website which hopefully might make it a bit easier for people to find everything. So you'll be able to find the podcast and live reviews and album reviews and all my other bits of writing in one place. I hope you enjoy listening to Harmonious World. Please do explore some of the other episodes. I've interviewed some absolutely incredible people. Do get in touch and let me know of anything that you've particularly enjoyed. And if you can write a review, it really helps people to find me and then to find out about new music that they might not otherwise hear, because some of the music that I talk about you're not going to hear anywhere else. You're not going to hear on the radio stations, and Spotify might not send it to you. So please do enjoy listening to my conversations and then follow through with some of the artists. So until the next episode, I hope you have a very, very good week.
Les a bercés le long des golfes clairs et d'une chanson d'amour, la mer a bercé mon cœur pour la vie.
Thank you for listening to the latest episode of Harmonious World. My name is Hilary Seabrook, and it's a great delight to bring this series of discussions with musicians and composers and writers and all sorts of people to you. Obviously, there's no point in having a podcast if people aren't listening, and I'm very grateful to my listeners for doing so. Thanks also to Joe English for composing and performing this new theme tune. So wherever you get your podcast, you can leave a review. You can share this with your friends and family, either as a link or on social media and that sort of thing. I'd be really grateful for that. Don't forget that you can subscribe now. There's a link wherever you get your podcasts. So have a great week, and please remember why I started this, which is just to try and make the world a little more harmonious. Thanks for listening to Harmonious World.